Hello, Grace Point. It's Pastor Kamal again with another missions update where we continue to think about what it means for us to be on the front foot, seeking to share Jesus's love and his gospel, even during these unusual times of isolation. Now, I want to continue to think about what it means for us to care for people under this situation where all of life has become virtualized. And in particular, what I want to look at today is what I'm going to call the new class of the virtual poor. Now, what I mean is this. I think there's going to be people who, because of the virtualization of all of life, by which I mean the way that many of our taken for granted physical relationships, where we used to be able to hug our children and our grandchildren, we can't do that anymore. So grandparents need to interact with their children and grandchildren just on the screen now. Sure, they can see them, they can hear them, but it's not quite the same thing. And also there'll be people for whom this whole online shopping and not being able to go out to a shopping center and just sit with a coffee and watch the world go by, that will affect them a lot because that used to be their way of getting out, seeing friends, and feeling like they were part of a community. You'll notice, so some of this, the person I have in mind, I'm thinking older people, but it's not just older people, maybe disabled people or people who don't have an extended family who are close to them and who keep an eye on them, people who are just more reliant on non-biological friends. These people, because of the virtualization of everything, these people, I think, will be more affected by the fact of everything going online than those of us who are comfortable with the online world. And that's key. That's why I'm calling them the virtual poor. I don't mean that they don't have money. They may have lots of money. I don't mean that they don't, strictly speaking, have friends or family. I mean that these are people who, through no fault of their own, the virtualization of all of life is impacting them more than those of us for whom this online living is just normal. So even if we used to not do like online shopping and stuff, and even if we used to physically go to community groups, it's no big deal. We've adjusted and we feel happy. We feel able to engage this virtual world in a way that they feel restricted, debilitated, sad, miserable, stressed, and therefore poor. You see what I mean? Now, how can we, as people who love God and therefore seek to love our neighbor, how can we care for them? Just by the way, you'll notice that what I'm talking about here isn't strictly mission. In our second missions update, I talked about how mission is the verbal proclamation of what Jesus has done for us in order to invite people to get the benefit of the salvation, the forgiveness that Jesus achieved for us in his death and resurrection. What I'm talking about here is ministry, caring for the poor and needy in Jesus' name. So, but even if it's not mission, it's still something worth doing, isn't it? How about we show the world that we love God by deliberately sharing our virtual resources? What I mean is, we for whom this online world is relatively comfortable, relatively familiar, we just know what's going on. And because we're relatively young and fit and healthy, we're not worried about going to the shops and so on. Let's help people for whom the virtualization of everything is just so much more stressful. Perhaps we can help them set up software on their computers and phones when they're not used to having to use Skype and Zoom and stuff. And so everything is just a bigger deal. And they feel like they're shut out and cut off from the world because they don't know the software. They're not familiar with the software. Everything's so stressful. Perhaps we can go and do the shopping for them and then bring it and chat with them, even if it's from outside, from the pavement, so that it's not some faceless employee who just brings a box of food, dumps it, and goes away, but there's personal connection. And they can chat with us and we can tell them about Jesus. Because there's the other point. Yes, this is ministry. It's not strictly mission, but let's tell people, take the opportunity to tell people we're doing this because we love God and because we love the one who is infinitely rich, but for our sakes became poor. He humbled himself and became obedient to death, even death on a cross, so that we who are infinitely poor and deserve to be cut off and marginalized, even by our Almighty God, so that we who are poor can become rich. You'll notice I crunched together Philippians 2 with 2 Corinthians 8 and 9 there. Now, don't just help people in order to create opportunities to talk about the gospel. Help people because you love them. Help people because you care about them. God does. He makes the rain fall and the sunshine on both the righteous and the unrighteous. But as we help people, take the opportunity. Don't be ashamed to take the opportunity to be explicit about the fact that we love Jesus and we want to care for people in Jesus' name, and Jesus makes us feel comfortable and safe and invites us to share his infinite resources, his infinite riches, so that we can navigate and survive and even prosper, even during this unusual time of isolation and the virtualization of everything. So there you go, Grace Point. There's some more ideas about how we can make the most of this unusual time and the virtualization of all of our relationships to continue to spread God's kingdom and his gospel. God bless you, Grace Point. And I look forward to seeing you guys on Sunday, even if it is online. And I look forward to spreading the good news of Jesus alongside of you.